Hello, Jake. Today, we're going to talk about persuasion techniques. Are you excited?
Absolutely, Emma. Persuasion is such an important skill. How do we start?
We'll start with understanding how to create a compelling argument. What does compelling mean to you?
I think it means something that's interesting or convincing.
Exactly. A compelling argument grabs attention and keeps it. Let's dive deeper into this today.
Sure, I'm ready. How can we make our arguments more effective?
One way is to use evidence to back up our claims. Do you have an example of evidence?
Yeah. Statistics could be good evidence, right?
Yes, that's perfect. Statistics are strong evidence. What else?
Maybe expert opinions? Those could help support our argument.
Exactly. Expert opinions are very compelling. Now, let's introduce a grammar point for today's lesson.
Okay, what's the grammar point?
We'll focus on how to structure arguments and counterclaims effectively. First, can you give me a simple argument?
Sure, I think school uniforms should be mandatory.
Great start. Now, how would you support that with evidence?
I could say that they promote equality among students.
That's a strong point. Now, what might someone say as a counterclaim?
They might argue that uniforms limit self-expression?
Excellent. So an argument and a counterclaim are both essential in persuasive writing. Let's have a dialogue to practice this.
All right, should I start?
Yes, go ahead.
I believe that using social media can enhance our communication skills.
That's a compelling claim. What evidence do you have to support it?
Well, many studies show that people who actively engage on social media have improved interactions.
Interesting. Now, what if someone disagrees with you? What could be a counterclaim?
They might say that social media leads to misunderstandings.
True, that's a valid point. How would you respond to that?
I could argue that misunderstandings can happen in face-to-face conversations too.
Great. You're using a rhetorical approach. It's important to consider both sides.
Does that make my argument more compelling?
Definitely. Addressing counterclaims strengthens your argument. Let's switch topics. What do you think about online learning?
I think it's a fantastic way to learn, but it has its drawbacks too.
Right. Can you provide some compelling reasons for online learning?
Sure. It's flexible and accommodates different learning styles.
Excellent points. Now can you think of a counterclaim against online learning?
Some people might argue that it lacks personal interaction.
Yes, that's true. And how could you appeal to someone who prefers traditional learning?
I could mention that online learning platforms often incorporate video calls for interaction.
Great idea. Using that evidence could change their mind. Let's move to the explanation part of our lesson.
Okay, I'm curious to hear more.
When we argue our points, we should make sure our statements are clear and that we provide empirical evidence. For example, many studies highlight the effectiveness of online learning for self-motivated students.
That makes sense. So, it's important to back up our arguments.
Exactly. Also, consider rhetorical questions, like asking, who wouldn't want a more flexible way of learning? It can make your argument more engaging.
Using a rhetorical question is a clever technique. What's another example?
Another example would be, isn't it essential to consider both sides of a debate, showing you're open-minded?
I see. The goal is to appeal to our audience while presenting evidence and counterclaims.
Exactly. Let's move on to more vocabulary related to today's lesson. Our first word is compelling.
What does that mean exactly?
Compelling is something that is very interesting or hard to resist. For instance, the speaker had a compelling argument about climate change.
Got it. Any more examples?
Of course. The story she told was incredibly compelling. And he presented a compelling case for better education.
These examples help a lot. What's our next word?
Next is evidence. Evidence supports your argument. For example, the lawyer presented compelling evidence during the trial.
That's clear. Can you give more examples?
Sure. Her research provided solid evidence for the theory. And, without evidence, the argument remains weak.
I see how important evidence is. What's next?
Next, we have counterclaim. A counterclaim opposes an argument. An example could be, the counterclaim highlighted flaws in the original argument.
Got it. Any more?
Yes. His counterclaim was well argued. And, she addressed the counterclaim effectively.
Great examples. What's next?
Next is rhetorical. It refers to questions or devices used in persuasion. For instance, the author used rhetorical questions to engage readers.
I understand. Any other examples?
Of course. His rhetorical skills helped convince the audience. And, rhetorical devices can make writing more interesting.
Perfect. What's our last word?
The last word is appeal. An appeal is a request for support. For example, their appeal for donations was successful.
That makes sense. Can you provide more examples?
Sure. The charity's appeal brought in many contributors. And, he made a strong appeal to the audience's emotions.
I feel more confident with these words. How do we review what we learned?
Let's do a quick review. First, what does compelling mean?
It means interesting or convincing.
Good. Next, what is evidence?
It's the support for our argument.
Correct. Now, what's a counterclaim?
It's an argument against the original claim.
Exactly. Can you tell me about rhetorical?
It's related to persuasive language or questions.
Perfect. Last question. What does appeal mean?
It's a request for support or a way to attract attention.
Well done. You've grasped the terms beautifully. To conclude, let's preview our next lesson.
Sure. What will we explore next time?
Next, we'll dive into the art of negotiation. It's a vital skill in both personal and professional life.
That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to learn more.
Great. See you next time.
See you, Emma.